but I'm just going to get the Twitch app up just to make sure.
Yep, we're live.
Okay, good. We are live. Welcome back, everybody, to the Storytime Network. Today is obviously the Paradox Hour podcast, and today we are continuing our Pride Month lineup with the discussion of the Yuri series Bloom Into You. I am your resident sleep-deprived Brit Mill. The COVID vaccine kicked my ass for 2 nights of sleep, which really did not help me.
Oof.
Joining me today is Jack.
Hello, I also got a terrible night's sleep last night, and I don't have the COVID vaccine as an excuse for it.
And Lord.
Hi there. I just did a lot of heavy lifting today, so I'm just tired because of that, not because of bad sleep schedules.
So
I feel
yeah.
called out by
So yeah, we're talking about Bloom Into You, which I don't think it's any sort of assumption to say that we all adore this series.
It's very,
yeah,
very
no,
good.
that's a fantastic series.
Indeed.
Just a heads up for those of you watching, we will be dividing this stream into roughly 2 halves, where we discuss the content that's covered in the anime, and then we will dive into manga exclusive content.
There
So
probably will be some mixing, but we'll do our best to try and keep manga spoilers out of the anime discussion until we, stick the spoiler warning up.
And there's plenty of discussion to be had about just the elements exclusive to the anime, like the directing and the animation.
Oh god, the directing.
So fucking good!
Yeah, it's genuinely one of the best directed series I've probably ever seen, especially for like romance shows, which are often very flat. Like often you just have
very
talking and
there's a lot of reverse shot in most romance shows, whereas there is some good old staging and usage of lighting in this.
Yeah, and also the first person stuff, and like it's just so efficient in actually putting you into the point of view of the characters it wants you to embody, and it's not something you see very often, even in something as emotionally charged as romance shows.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to Makoto Kato, who is the director for the Bloom anime, as well as all the other episode directors that I'm not sure are even on Mal for me to talk about. But just all of the staff for the Bloom anime were fantastic, frankly.
They did outstanding.
Absolutely phenomenal stuff.
Even just you already mentioned the animation. I don't think there's a single episode that looks. I mean, none of them look bad, but I don't even think there's one that looks noticeably cheaper than the other ones. Like none of the classic bottle episode stuff or anything. It's just a very good looking show from start to finish. Very.
Oh
even.
yeah, absolutely. It's really hard to go wrong with this show. Like the romance is compelling as hell. The side characters are also really fascinating, and the cherry on top with whipped cream and sprinkles is just the
production
presentation of it all.
Yeah, it's great. It's really, I think that's one of the things like many shows can learn from it. If you are good in one respect, that's great. But if you can be good in all of them, that's just better.
And I think as much as we do need to shout out the production staff, we also have to shout out the author Nakatani Neo, because I believe the author is a she. Her art is stupendous, frankly, at times.
Absolutely, but I think that's where stuff like good production comes in, because you can have shows that are very well produced, but then it's usually, or not usually, but it's often very showy. It's like the director going, "Look what I can do," or the animators going, "Look at this cut we made." And
most instances of Sakuga that you see are like big bombastic action sequences.
Look at this moment. And honestly, when I first watched Bloom Into You, and I honestly didn't notice most of it, but then when I read stuff like the Sakuga blog and shit, like people talking about how the show is directed, I'm like, oh yeah, it's all there and it's all the time, but it's just not showy. It just is very efficient. It's just used to do what it does.
Yeah.
And that's something you don't see often.
Bloom Into You actually came out at an interesting time because there was another show that came out during the same season that also looked really pretty, but didn't have any big action scenes or anything to kind of showcase that directly. I think it was Irazuku.
Irazuku did look very pretty at times.
That was also, yeah.
It's just Bloom Into You is kind of better in every way.
I mean, let's just put it this way: Fall 2018 might have been one of the strongest seasons of anime in the last sort of half a decade.
Honestly, this current season is the strongest season I think since Fall 2018.
Because just very quickly, let's just go through Fall 2018 because it had JoJo's Part 5, Run with the Wind, Bunny Girl Senpai, Golden Kamuy Second Season, Reincarnated as a Slime, Bloom, Surune, Hinamaru Sumo, Irazuku, Zombieland Saga.
Honestly, just having Bloom, Surune, and Run with the Wind in one season is already overkill. Like those are three fantastic shows.
Yeah. Gridman was also Fall 2018. Yeah. Release the Spice.
Hell.
Honestly, Fall 2018 was not fair to other seasons of anime.
It really wasn't. That was my first season following seasonal anime.
That was my first season following seasonal anime in earnest. I'd been doing it
since
earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I've been doing it since earlier in the year, like around winter or spring, but it was the first season where I actively watched like 10 or more shows in the season, and oh boy, what a season to start with.
Admittedly, there were Fall was very much a season of extreme highs and extreme lows, because we also had Oresuki, Conception, Between the Sky and the Sea. Oh god, Between the Sky and the Sea.
Yep.
One day we will do a stream roasting that series.
It was amazing also that season.
In every season, you will always have like good shows and bad shows, if only by comparison. If only by saying this is bad and this is better, so by that virtue is good. But honestly, having a season where 3 shows, or more than 3 shows, where just this many shows still hold up after all that time, still can generate conversation after all that time, speaks for the season, really.
I still will stand by my claim that Bloom is the best show of Fall 2018.
Probably.
It's a lot of people who watched it and watched other shows would put it in their top 5 at the very least.
I'm fairly sure I put it in first of new shows. I think the only thing that went above it for me was My Hero.
Yeah, that tracks.
It's always, I think it's always difficult to say like this is the best of that, just because hey, maybe someday I just feel like watching something else, and then that other thing is suddenly better. But overall, Bloom definitely is a show that holds up and withstands all the praise it gets, and is still good. Like, you can't really be overhyped for Bloom Into You, I think, because it just delivers on most things people talk about.
I think the other interesting thing is that it was coming off the back of a couple of other big Yuri series being adapted to, at most, lackluster reception, if not
what was it?
Outright.
Citrus was one of them.
Yeah, Citrus was one of them. Netsuzo Trap.
Citrus, yeah, but both of those are not good, and Bloom Into You is actually good, and that's the big difference there.
I will say Bloom Into You is probably the first big name Yuri manga to get a good adaptation.
Definitely a good mainstream adaptation. I think there are probably
a lot of the others are a bit niche, but this one broke out into the mainstream for good reason.
Yeah.
Well,
I think, honestly, I don't even. I mean, it obviously is a Yuri series, but I don't even see it as a Yuri series. It's just a very good romance. It's just, yeah.
Honestly, yeah, one of the best romances I've ever seen. I think it's probably still my favorite romance anime.
It's very interesting that you say that, because apparently there was interviews with the author Nakatani, who said that she started off writing doujins, and just liked writing about the relationship between girls and didn't originally intend for them to be yuri.
Yeah.
And then basically ended up going, you know, I've been writing all of these series that have basically ended up being yuri. Maybe I should just write one
Maybe I
that's
should
solely
do something
yuri.
with that. Yeah, I mean, worked spectacularly.
Yeah.
Hot damn, it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting because it's not solely a romance series. Yes, the central concept is the relationship between Yu and Toko, but at the same time, it is also about those two characters finding themselves in as they, you know, grow older and as they change.
And honestly, not only those two. I think basically the entire supporting cast goes through, obviously minor compared to the main characters, but goes to very similar arcs of just starting at a point and going, okay, where do I want to go from here? And all of them make choices related to that. And for some it works, for others it doesn't.
Probably the most prominent one of the supporting cast is Sayaka, who gets the most development after our two leads.
Of course. I would almost consider her a third lead because she's just
yes.
I mean, we should
big chapters dedicated to her and episodes.
Yeah. We should point out that there are light novels focusing on Sayaka, which really does speak to her being, you know, the third main character of the cast, but I don't think any of us have read them, so
I don't
have
think they
all three of them, but I have not read them yet.
They do.
Yeah.
Nice, then I need to buy them. And I mean, from what you see in like fan art and stuff, she seems to be fairly popular. So.
Oh no, absolutely, she is a very popular character.
Yeah.
Understandably so.
Absolutely, she's great.
But,
I think of the quote-unquote actual side characters, the most prominent one would be what's her name? Koyomi, the author.
Oh, I love Koyomi.
Yes,
absolutely adore her.
She gets involved in the actual main story arc. But even the others, even the basketball playing one, Akari, she also has a pretty neat arc, and it's pretty easy to just follow her arc. If for some reason she's the only character that interests you and Bloom into you, first of all, I don't know why, but also,
I mean,
like, you can read the whole thing and see where she goes and why she makes certain choices, and I think that also speaks to the quality of the series and especially of the character writing that just works. Because that doesn't have to work.
Another relatively minor character who definitely gets an arc throughout the series is Dojima, the other student council member. Like, he starts off as a very, you know, very shallow seeming person, but as you get to spend more time with him, he gets deeper and deeper, and it's really interesting. There's a particular scene with him, Yu, and Akari that I absolutely love, that we will get onto when we discuss manga-only content.
Yeah.
I honestly think of the side characters, the one who has the least clear arc, and we will probably talk about him anyway, so I will just say this very, very shallowly, but I think that is deliberate that he has this very that he doesn't have a very clear arc is Maki, the other guy.
Oh no,
basically.
absolutely. Maki out of all of the other characters is the most secure in himself.
Yeah,
he knows
exactly and that's what makes him fascinating.
Yeah,
like, everyone else has these questions about who am I. For some of them, they are related obviously to their sexuality and their relationship status and everything. But he's very secure in who he is, and that. But it works. It's not in a way that seems unnatural. Like, he isn't like a high schooler that has the wisdom of a 70-year-old or something. He is still very much a student, in line with being a student. His character is very much works as a 17-year-old guy, but he is also secure of himself, and that makes him interesting in this cast of people trying to find themselves.
Maki is also just fantastic ace representation.
Absolutely,
I think.
Absolutely, I think the second time he gets his monologue thing, where he says, "Well, if people ask me to be in a relationship with them, that's just kind of disappointing because I don't care, and I care more about their relationships, because he's aromantic asexual. He just doesn't have that bone in his body. He just doesn't get it. So to him, someone going to him is disappointing because he can't give anything back. He doesn't get anything from it. And I think that is a very fascinating take on it.
And forgive me for being crass, but he doesn't want that bone in his body.
Haha! I did not say no pun intended for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, Maki
while
is
we're talking about him, I think his whole theater analogy with going. I see people not only because theater obviously plays a big part in how the series develops, but just as an analogy, it works because he's not only the wise asexual. That's terrible. But because he's also somewhat of an audience stand-in, and like he's the good weep because he doesn't go, "That's my waifu," and well, I like her, because he just goes, "Yeah, that's a nice story. I'm happy for them."
I mean, that's the thing. He's, as much as he doesn't have his own arc, he does play key roles in certainly Yu's arc.
Absolutely. I think that is a great scene they have together, and I think that's during the sports festival where he essentially says, "No, you're not like me. You're obviously not like me," and she goes, "Oh."
Yeah, they have three really good scenes together. Yeah. Two which are in the anime, and a third that is manga only, which again we will get to eventually. But all three are key to Yu's development throughout the series, and wouldn't have happened without Maki being who he was.
Exactly. I also, it must be said that, like, for all of Yu's inner thoughts that she doesn't really understand romance towards the beginning of the series, it becomes increasingly clear later on that it's less that she's not asexual in the way that Maki is, or aromantic, but rather that she just her expectations for romance kind of made it difficult for her to really actually comprehend it.
I was thinking this.
She was waiting for him. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, all I want to say is I was thinking this because as I told Law, I reread the entire series before we did this. I mean, it's only 8 volumes long, so it took me 2-3 hours. And yes, that is a slight brag about how quickly I read. But I was thinking at the start of the series about the fact that this series does challenge that sort of Hollywood romance trope, and obviously it does it from a Japanese point of view.
Even just challenge it; it specifically calls it out because, especially throughout the, I think, first 2 volumes and first probably 5 episodes or something, that's specifically what Yu's doing. She's waiting for this big moment that tells her this is the moment, and well, that moment is never going to come if you don't.
I feel like it's almost a deconstruction. Almost a deconstruction of the classic romance tropes and how unrealistic they really are.
Yeah, and I think it does it in a very smart way, because a lot of romances, and I'm not talking about Japanese media specifically, everything, have this thing where they go, well, movie romance doesn't really happen, or classic romance doesn't really happen, love at first sight may happen but isn't really a thing, and talk about it at length how that isn't a thing, but later fall into all these pitfalls of having that big moment happen, and the guy comes in and the other person is suddenly totally, and that doesn't really work. But Bloom Into You makes it very clear that the big dramatic romantic moments, and there are definitely multiple of them throughout the series, happen specifically because the characters worked for these moments to happen. They earned them.
There are definitely realizations, but they're less, oh, I'm wholly in love with this person, but they're about stages of realization. I mean, the big one that I remember and I absolutely adore is during the sports festival when Yu has her big gay realization, as I like to call it.
Oh yeah.
And it's less a realization of, oh, I'm in love with her, and more a realization of, oh god, I do actually find her attractive in a romantic way.
Yeah, absolutely. That's and
good old gay awakening.
But that too is not done in a very performative media way. It's not like she like gets the big blush sticker and goes, "Oh shit!" But it's just she watches that and goes, "Huh, yeah, well, guess I didn't know that about me."
Yeah, it really was a wait, what moment. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, I just found out something new about myself.
And it does it's a very interesting scene because it happens after the discussion with Marky where Yu tries to say that she's the same as him.
Yeah, and I think that's what the scene does. It's not like he's putting her on the right track or anything. It's just he's giving her the freedom to just rethink what she thinks about herself. And once she is no longer in this track of, well, it's just not for me, she goes, "Oh, okay, I guess."
Yeah. It's like, huh, he was right.
Yeah.
Shit.
And I mean, good for her that she happens to fall for the person that's also head over heels in love with her, but you know how these things happen.
How awkward it would have been if she fell in love with Sayaka instead.
Oh, that would be that.
Oh, that's
would
a
have been
proper
so
fun love
sad.
triangle right there.
That would have been real
Oh my
fucking
God.
awkward.
I bet there's fanfiction of that out there.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, 100%.
Oh my God.
Wouldn't it surprise me if Nakatani had written some just for fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not to go on a huge segue here, but I sometimes do wonder if authors just have fanfiction accounts for their own series and just write shit because they want to.
Just to mess with the fans, if nothing else.
Yeah, just to fucking do it.
Definitely to fuck with the fans.
Yeah. But no, I think that's a big strength of Bloom to You is that it knows how to utilize its characters and their arcs. And as I said, actually two characters who don't really have arcs. The other one being Miyako, the cafe owner.
I mean, I
very deliberately do not have arcs.
I mean, yeah,
they fulfill a very specific function in the story.
Yeah, the teacher Riko and Miyako, the cafe owner, very specifically don't have arcs because they've already had their arcs. They are
they are essentially the future of the main characters
already.
Yeah,
they're post
exactly. Honestly, in half of Miyako's scenes, I think she just watches Sayaka and goes, "Well, I've been through this shit before."
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there is a scene I don't think it was in the anime, so slight manga spoilers for this, where she really does, while talking with Riko, she does just go, "Yeah, I've sort of been there, so I do want to try and help her as much as possible."
Yeah, and I mean, it does make sense because, like, they're not that much older. It's just a society thing. Like, she obviously has actually been there.
I also appreciate just the fact that, as opposed to being like the typical Yuri series that only shows relationships between girls in high school, this one actually shows a proper relationship between two adult women who have been together for a while. To show, like, this isn't just a phase. People are like this in real life.
To me, their relationship is hands down the best relationship in the series. I mean, no shade at you and Toko, but just Miyako and Riko are great together. Like, they have, I think, even including the manga, they have like 3 scenes together or something. But all of them are perfect at giving you just this glimpse into their life together, and that's obviously their life.
Just the fact that Miyako turns up to the field day sports festival, whatever it was, to basically heckle. Heckle Riko.
Absolutely. And I'm not sure what's the scene in the anime where Miyako essentially asks Riko if she's gay.
I think it was actually.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good scene where Riko just outright rejects all labels and just goes, "Does it matter?"
Yeah,
like, we're together. That's really the important part, and it's not in a way that seems callous or anything. It's not like they both after that just go, "Okay." No, but I think it's set up in a way that when Riko answers that, Miyako actually gets it. She goes, "Oh yeah, actually, it doesn't matter in the way I thought it did."
I mean, the other thing that is really good about Bloom, and this is definitely anime content, is it really does give both barrels to the idea that liking girls is just a phase with Sayaka's ex.
Girls like
with Sayaka.
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, that scene is absolutely
Sayaka's
amazing.
Entire arc crushes that, and it's amazing. Yeah, that's probably her best moment in the entire show. Just as a character, where she goes, you know what, fuck you.
Basically, so to explain the situation, Sayaka dated one of her female senpai in middle school, and said senpai eventually broke it off, saying,
specifically saying we're not kids anymore. This phase has to end.
Yeah.
So she later sees her ex partway into the story proper. She's meeting up with Toko at this point, and her ex says, "Oh, I'm sorry I made you."
Basically, I'm sorry I made you gay.
Yeah.
And Saka, in essence, just says, "Oh, guess what? I've always been gay. Fuck you for assuming, and fuck you for being a homophobe."
Yeah,
basically.
Like that's genuinely one of my favorite moments Sayaka has in the entire series. It's just that moment where she more or less says, "Yeah, no, I'm just gay. You're not that important."
On a fun note, the ex is called Chie Yuzuki, but before she was given a name, Japanese fans called her Terrible Senpai.
Ha!
It's very fitting.
That is perfect.
Another thing I want to point out while we're on the different couples, there's also like it's not one of these shows where just everyone happens to be gay.
Yeah.
Yu's
Akari
sister
is
and
very
her
firm.
boyfriend. Yu's sister and her boyfriend. I want to mention them just for a second. I think they are, again, they have like 3 scenes where we actually see them together, but they are a good couple. Like it seems they have a healthy relationship. They're happy together. And that actually serves as a foil to Akari, who chases this boy, and it just doesn't work out.
It does not,
because that happens sometimes. Yeah. But even that is just, it's not treated the way it would be treated in many different series where everyone just kind of goes, well, fuck him, he's not good enough anyway. No, it's just everyone just kind of goes, shit, it didn't work out.
Well, again, this is. I'll put the spoiler warning up a little bit because this is manga content. But
oh shit, really? Sorry, I thought
it's fine. It's fine. But this is the scene I was talking about when I was talking about Dojima, because while yes, they are like it's some. Well, Akari is very much, some things don't work out. But she also says that she feels like her feelings for him might have been a pain for him, and Dojima just goes fucking ape shit over that and just like, no, somebody's feelings should never be a pain for anyone. Like, and if he said that, I'm gonna go beat the shit out of him. And it's a wonderfully serious side of Dojima that we hadn't really seen prior to that.
Yeah, Dojima early on he like just a dumbass, but I do appreciate that he gets the developments that showcases his deeper and more righteous side, and
honestly,
especially in scenes like this.
Yeah, honestly, early on and I kind of want to say that goes through the entire anime. He kind of feels like a filler character. Like, okay, we have the student council, but we need one more person. Just throw this basic slacker guy in there, and that'll work out. But particularly in the second half of the story, he definitely gets his development.
I mean, there's also a hilarious scene just before that where you and Dojima have seen Akari crying, and they have a little argument about who the hell is gonna try and talk to her and cheer her up about this. Just like Dojima's like,
"Oh, you do it.
Yep. You're a girl. You know how these things work." And you're just like, "What? Yeah. No, I don't."
Yeah.
just because I'm a girl doesn't mean I know how this stuff works. It's just.
I mean, honestly, if one of the girls won't know how it works, it's her.
Yeah, as much as this is a romantic drama, this still does have some really good funny moments here and there.
Yeah.
Oh no, there's a lot of just absolutely hilarious moments.
Definitely. I mean, especially early on, any moment where Nanami is just in love with you is always adorable and funny.
Oh, I mean, one of my favorite scenes from the anime as a whole, which means I can take this spoiler warning off for now, is when Toko goes to use room for the first time and is completely and just gets completely red faced, and you is just like stare.
Yeah. I also really like the moment when your sister sends Nanami the photo of you sleeping.
Yeah.
And Nanami is just like totally goes blue screen, just looks at her phone like, damn.
Yeah.
It's just.
She just like. Yeah, your sister is just such a wig woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She almost immediately figures out what's going on between the two. Is like,
honestly,
I'm worked to get you guys hooked up like you should be.
Yeah. She's the ultimate shipper on deck, definitely.
I don't think it was immediate, but as soon as Toko actually asked her for the cheesecake recipe, like that was the light bulb moment of, like, oh, it's like that, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Another hilarious moment is when they try calling each other by their first names for the first time, and Toko just cannot take it.
Yeah, that was just absolutely adorable.
And again, part of this is, or part of what makes these scenes so great in the anime is the work by the voice actresses. Yuki Takada for Yu and Minako Kotobuki for Toko. Like, just...
Yeah, the performances are stellar.
Mm-hmm.
Just throughout the entire series. Like, the cast is great.
Oh, another great scene is the really interesting thing is that there are obviously main chapters, but in between them, certainly in the manga, there are basically like little extra chapters that are only sort of half a dozen to a dozen pages long, but usually are just sort of everyday life. And one of them is you working at a family's bookstore and talking about the different genres that her friends like. And Toko comes in and buys a book that turns out to have a lesbian couple and explicit sex scenes. And you thinks she's just doing this to get a reaction from me, so I'm not gonna say anything. Yeah. And then the next time they see each other, Toko's like, I didn't know. It's just,
oh my god, why did you let me buy this?
Yeah.
But going back to the bookstore, that's actually a thing I also really appreciate is we definitely do see you and Toko share hobbies. Like they actually have things in common.
Yeah.
It's not just well, they are the romance main couple, so obviously they're gonna get together. No, they do have shit they can just do together and enjoy together and talk about.
They have a great deal of chemistry.
Yeah, because in a lot of romance stories, and even good ones, even ones I enjoy, honestly, the main characters don't really have anything in common. It's just kind of like, they're a good couple, so sure, let's do it. But
just cute, romantic tension, get together.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. And I do think Bloom into You, like, I'm not going to say they obviously share all the same interests. Like, that's not the case. But they definitely do have things in common, and I appreciate that, because so often you don't really see that.
I was going to mention that, you know, they do share interests, but they don't have the exact same interests. Again, this is more of a, this more goes into manga content, so I'll stick the spoiler warning up. But Toko very much gets into acting, and that is very much not what Yu likes. But at the same time, you know, they both have a clear love of stories more than anything else.
Yeah.
And that's where they intersect in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do see them watch movies together and stuff again later in the manga. That's definitely a thing they share. They just I appreciate that because, as I said, often you don't really see that.
And going back to anime content, they clearly both love the aquarium, which was very nice.
Oh yeah, the aquarium date is where the anime leaves off.
And it is
Which is honestly kind of a weird point to leave off, just given how the story develops. But
well, the issue is like if they tried to adapt the play, that would have been an additional three episodes.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I mean, it's not a bad place to leave off. It's just weird because you have the play looming so large and it happens right next.
Which is why Bloom needs a second season.
Exactly, and they should do it as soon as possible so they can get the actual team together. Because again, as we've said at the start of this is an incredibly well-made show.
As we said before the stream started, unfortunately, it looks like the studio that made it, Troika, is concentrating more on Idolish 7 than it is anything else.
God damn it.
Which is unfortunate, but it makes sense considering that it's
I mean,
very profitable.
It's also possible it doesn't want to do a season 2 because of a particular, let's say, half a chapter near the end that we probably will have to discuss at some point.
Well, there's also the fact of they might just be taking a long time making it.
Possible.
And they haven't announced it yet.
Essentially, we don't know when they started production on season 1 either, so...
Well, the manga, I believe, started in 2015 or 2016?
2015. April 2015.
So that was a good 3 years before the anime came out. So they've been working on it for a while before. They had plenty of time to...
But also, let's be real, if there wasn't an announcement of a second season in the final volume or in one of the books by now, it's probably not happening. I would love for it to happen, or at least it's probably not in production.
In fairness, Nakatani is apparently has plans for something of a spin-off or a sequel focusing on Sayaka in college, so it could be in there, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Please give us hope.
I mean, as long as they keep releasing stuff, they can put announcements wherever they want, as long as they come. I don't care.
I mean, the really interesting thing is, I'm fairly sure, it got a stage play as well.
It did, yes.
In 2019.
From what I heard, it was fairly successful.
Which is all the more reason for them to be working on a fucking second season.
Yeah, for real. It's just...
They could definitely make gangbusters off of it.
The thing is, it seems so obvious to make a second season, because season 1 covered about half of the manga. The manga finished shortly after that. The show and the manga are both pretty popular. They're still working on the it seems obvious. It seems like the obvious thing to do, because they have all the tools they need to make a working good second season of this show, but it kind of just doesn't materialize.
Which is a damn shame, because
it absolutely is
a fantastic series.
Yeah,
it's one of these to have a complete adaptation.
Yeah, it's one of these. If they put it on a streaming service and everything else on there would be terrible, I would still get the subscription for that season just to watch that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Just very, very good.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't have much keeping me attached to my High Dive subscription. But if Bloom got announced for a second season that would only be on High Dive, I would get that subscription for those 3 months in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. Definitely.
I mean, that's the thing. As soon as I saw that there was a Blu-ray for Bloom being released, I bought that shit as soon as I could.
Yep, same.
And it's a wonderful Blu-ray.
Yeah,
I got the limited edition, so I have the cheesecake recipe as well.
Oh, I got that too. I also have the cheesecake recipe.
I getting the limited edition would have been like 3 times as expensive as the normal one plus shipping, so I'm kind of there, but
I was
no, it's
to get it on sale, but it was still expensive.
I mean, and it's fine to pay big money for that, and I think if I could have, I would have gotten 2, but then there was the whole 2020 thing, and international shipping was less secure than it has ever been, and I was just going, well, I can get it in Europe for reasonable amounts of money and kind of working tracking, so let's just do that.
So I think something that we haven't talked about yet, and I'm going to put the spoiler warning up for this because it does span the entire series, is Toko's arc, which is it's very much, if not the central arc, one of the most central arcs, alongside you realizing her, sexuality.
Yeah, Yu is definitely the protagonist, but Toko's arc is where the meat's at. Like, Toko's arc is where shit's happening.
Yu is the protagonist, but Toko is 100% the deuteragonist of the series.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a very fascinating, because obviously Yu's side of the story is the romance arc, but Toko's is very much about trying to figure out who she is and who she wants to be.
Yeah.
Because
specifically, in a way, I want to say that could have backfired so many ways, and I have seen that arc backfire in so many anime for different reasons.
I mean, it was very interesting because Nakatani seems to realize that, just certainly in the big way, that the arc could have backfired by doing it in the play, because the play was basically the distillation of Toko's arc, and the original ending obviously was the main character choosing to be the amnesic main character, I should add, choosing to be who her lover thought she was, but then you realizing that, hey, no, that's kind of bullshit. No, that's wrong.
That's not really how this works.
Yeah, no, that you almost very quickly realizes that, shit, this is gonna fuck Toko up real fierce if we go through with this, and she goes to Koyomi to have the play rewritten.
Let's pedal back a little bit. What should be noted and is important for understanding this is Toko has a very strict and clear understanding of what she believes loving someone means, and that's why she is, especially in the beginning, she's adamant you not love her back. That's essentially the entire conceit of the romance. Is Toko says she's in love with you specifically because you is someone who can't love her back. Because Toko believes if someone loves you, they essentially chain you up. Because she has this idea that if you love someone, then that person is from here on out a static person. They cannot change in any way because you love that person, and if they change, the entire construct of love basically breaks away.
But the thing that does become clear later on is that it's not just that, but it's also the fact that Toko doesn't like who she is, and the fact that, or the idea that you could ever love her like that is anathema to her.
Yeah,
it's frightening to her, and she actually gets really scary when the possibility of it comes up in conversation. The bridge scene that is so fantastically
one of the bridge scenes
in the anime.
Yeah, there are two bridge scenes, and they are both very important.
There's the bridge scene, and then there's the scene where they walk through the park, where she basically reiterates the point. And both of them are done very well, and she essentially says, well, if you were someone that could love me, I could never love you because I hate myself.
Yeah.
And that, like, both of these things, the fact that she does not understand how one could ever like her, and the fact that she has this twisted understanding of what loving someone means, both feed into this inability to accept other people connecting to her in any way, basically. She doesn't really have any friends besides Sayaka either.
Any meaningful way, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, as you said, she has a ton of friends. She is incredibly popular, but none of them, really Sayaka,
friends,
gets past that sort of outer layer. Only really you does, and that's just because you sort of, figures it out and isn't willing. Sayaka figures it out, but isn't willing to push past it. for
and that's
Toko's
I think that's
sake.
an interesting thing about Sayaka, because not that that was ever going to happen. That wasn't even really teased, but technically for Toko, if she ever went to that place where she said, "Well, you loves me back, I can't do this," Sayaka would have been the safe choice for her. Because Sayaka knows, which means like she can provide the emotional support Toko needs, but Sayaka won't push. And you, by the time you get invested, quote unquote, you was willing to push, and that's essentially what Nanami needs. And that's why you goes about rewriting the end of the play, because you sees that this end of the play, the logic in the play was, well, she picked her lover, so that must be the person she wants to be. And you realizes, as you said, that will completely fuck with her, because that will basically tell her, yes, you're right. Your self-worth does not come from how you see yourself. It comes entirely from how you connect to the world around you. And that's the interesting part, where there are two ideas of what it means to be in love and in a relationship kind of intersect and could break, but fortunately they don't.
I mean, there are elements, or there are instances where Sayaka does push, and it is interesting, because one of them is the changing of the script, and it really does speak to the fact that while Sayaka surely does love Toko, at the end of the day, the relationship probably wasn't the right one, or the one that Toko needed at that point.
And I think the points where Sayaka pushes, like the rewriting of the play, are when she realizes that. And I think in a way we're still in spoiler territory, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I think in a way that's what motivates Sayaka to actually confess to Toko, because she basically, but I believe by the time she confesses when they're on the class trip, she basically knows she has no chance. Because by that point, for Sayaka, by that point, it's not about Toko anymore. It's about her, because she knows, okay, I need this for me, because if I don't tell her, then that's always a thing that will be there.
I need this closure to put to bed this relationship, or this idea of a relationship. And you are right. Sayaka by that point had watched you and Toko together, had watched Toko begin to change, and then suddenly grow.
Realize that it's not because of her, but because of you.
Yeah.
And I think at some point she actually says something to that effect to you, where she basically says, "Yeah, she doesn't need me; she needs you." And that's what makes Sayaka interesting, because she's not just the romantic rival or something. She's just a person with her own shit to consider, and it happens to intersect with the main characters at some point.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, in a lot of romance series, you see the romantic rival just get utterly played short, and just exist solely as an obstacle for the main couple to get together, rather than a character in their own right. Whereas Bloom actually gives Sayaka not only her own arc, but eventually her own spin-off that takes place after
that speaks to the strength of the character, that's possible to just do.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's such a good show.
Oh, while we're in spoiler territory, we should probably talk about the scene in question.
Well, I just want to talk about how from volume 5 onwards, the volumes ends with like ridiculous scenes, because volume 5 ends with Yu's speech to Toko on top of the roof, where she says, give being somebody different a try, sort of thing. Give living like the protagonist of the school play a try. Volume 6 is I assume the scene that you were going to bring up, Jack, of the of Yu's confession.
That was one of the scenes, yes. very, very good scene.
Volume 7 is Toko texting you to meet up after having been basically estranged for the entire volume.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was fucking harrowing when that chapter came out.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what? That can't be where it ends.
And then volume 8
I need more. I need more.
Oh god, it was awful because I mean just the wait between 6, 7, and 8 was awful because it took so long for them all to come out. And and volume 8 ends with you looking at the ring on her left ring finger, which, you know, yay.
Well, what could that mean?
What the hell
I think
could
they're
that
really good
mean?
friends. They just
Yeah.
Oh, they seem like really good friends.
Yeah.
Nah, this ain't some
As
Disney
opposed to
shit.
Yeah.
Harold, they're lesbians.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there is also one other scene which you alluded to earlier would make it
interesting to
make it difficult to adapt.
I don't think any of us expected to see you topping, though it does make sense.
I mean, that's the interesting thing about it, that it just changes their entire relationship dynamic.
But it does make sense because
Toko was the bottom.
It does make sense because throughout the entire series, you had been about giving Toko. Well, for the first part of the series, it was all about you giving Toko what she wanted, and then once you made that decision to, you know, go against what Toko wants and try and change her for the better, it really did become about, you know, you taking charge, and that really was sort of the culmination of that.
Very, very, very basic character writing. It went well. Her wants don't work. Let's try to work with her needs. I do think. I mean, joking aside, I don't think it would be that hard to adapt because, you know, there's all kinds of things you can do.
I mean, at the end of the day, you could just fade to black it. Yeah.
I'm not sure you could do that because I do think there is a lot of characterization in that scene. Because, I mean, I say it changes their relationship, but it doesn't really. It's just the obvious culmination of where their relationship has been going. Because, as you said, at that point, you had basically taken over the instigation of the relationship. Because Toko was still in this, am I actually allowed to be happy in this? Like, am I allowed to be happy even though my sister is dead? And you by that time went, no, this is exactly what you need. And I do think the scene matters beyond simply being, well, they fucked, because it's kind of what happens in romance manga in the final book, and it's just how we do.
Honestly, I found that happens a lot more often in Yuri manga than in regular romance manga.
Absolutely. Because you gotta please them Yuri fanboys.
Because boobs are acceptable, dicks are not.
Exactly. I do think that is an unfortunate tendency in Yuri manga.
I'm pretty sure there's also pretty high occurrence of sex in the yaoi manga, from what I've heard.
But same principle.
You're allowed
same principle except gender flip.
You're allowed to show boobs. You're allowed to show dicks, as long as they're only together.
You can't
show one of each. You can't show one of each.
Don't cross the stream.
Don't cross the streams. You have to keep them nice and separated. No, but I do think, I mean, that's what everyone says as an excuse for reading porn. But I do think the sex scene matters to the characters. I do think it grows very naturally from where their relationship has been going, and not just in, well, and now they fuck, but just in how they fuck. Because yeah, definitely, we have scenes earlier, and some of them are in the anime where Toko is in Yu's room, and it's basically like you going, well, I don't care, you could, and it just doesn't happen because obviously both of them go, well, no, that wouldn't be any type of appropriate right now. But by that time, both of them, not only in their self, but also by that point in their relationship, went to a point where they say, okay, this isn't just, we're not just doing this because that's what people in relationships do. There's reasoning behind this.
I mean, it is interesting
to realize.
it is interesting the build up to that moment of both of them thinking, I really want to do that, but is it right to do that? And
exactly.
It's only when they actually talk to each other they go, oh, we both want to do this? Okay, cool. Let's do this.
Which also, communication.
Communication is extremely important in a relationship, and I'm glad this series emphasizes that.
Fucking hell, especially in this relationship. If they don't talk to each other, everything goes to shit.
I mean, we saw that with the fucking end of Volume 6. Like, the moment, like, they stopped talking to each other, everything fell apart.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I meant earlier when I said they own all their big romantic scenes, because their big romantic scenes aren't a kiss in the sunset or the big date where they went and someone proposed or something. No, their big romantic scenes are romantic because of how they are framed, like the final river scene. But they are essentially just them actually talking to each other.
Yeah.
And not just saying what the other wants to hear. And there is a scene that kind of shows you what happens when you just say what the other wants to hear, because when they get stuck in the rain, and I don't even remember what she says, but Yu essentially says something to the effect of, well, what if we actually get into a equal relationship? And Toku pulls back instantly. And at that moment, Yu goes, well, it doesn't really matter. It just and goes back to just saying what Toku wants to hear. And that scene loses all the tension in that moment because it isn't romantic. It's just them saying what the other wants to hear.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. Like, Toko, the scene is basically Toko worrying that she's taking advantage of Yu's kindness and doesn't want Yu to hate her for it. And Yu goes, it's fine. I was happy. And Toko suddenly goes, wait, what? No, this is too far in the other direction. And Yu suddenly, backtracks and goes, oh, not in a romantic way. I'm glad that you could help me, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just, I like helping people, yeah. And that's, and that kind of the juxtaposition of that scene with the quote-unquote actual romantic scenes shows you exactly what happens when they don't talk but just say things. Because it's very explicitly that.
Yeah. And again, it does take shots at, as we said before, it takes shots at the usual shoujo romance, because there's the very first kiss between Toko and Yu, which is just Toko, kissing Yu without permission.
Yeah.
And suddenly it makes things incredibly awkward, and Toko apologizes. Which,
that's great.
Yeah.
That honestly works better in the manga than in the anime, I think. Just because by nature of the medium, the transition between the two things is much harsher.
It's much more abrupt in a deliberate way.
Yeah. Because you have the kiss, and then instantly after that, Toko going, oh shit, I'm so sorry, I should not have done that. That was not okay to do. And in the anime, just by virtue of the medium, you have a much smoother transition between the two things. But I think that is something worth talking about, that's how their relationship starts. And I do get people thinking that's kind of iffy, but I do think the story very much tells you how this came to be in Toku's head and how things happen and don't happen.
I think what the story does is it shows that it is an iffy scene. It shows that it's not okay to do that. If you are going to kiss somebody, you need consent, and that is shown that both Yu feels that way, because she, while she's not incredibly unhappy with the situation, she is still, frustrated and annoyed that Toko took her first kiss like that. And Toko, next time she sees you, immediately apologizes for it. Like, no, that, if we're gonna kiss,
that was not cool.
I want you to want to kiss as well, not me kissing you without permission, sort of thing.
And I mean, given how their relationship develops, that's not quite where it goes, because Yu is not really consenting to anything, basically, but she is kind of consenting to everything, if that makes sense.
She very much starts out by she's consenting because that's what Nanami wants. It becomes consenting because that's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to say one thing, going back to what we said earlier, that scene also blows a huge hole in basically Yu's entire conceit of, what is even romance? Because that is the big moment, right?
Yeah.
Like in tons of other romance stories, that is the big moment. The instigator coming forward, kissing the person, and sweeping them off their feet. And that happens to you.
Mm.
And she doesn't even realize it because it's so fucking weird.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there's two moments in that sort of first episode or two, or first few chapters of there's the kiss, but there's also the scene in the student council room where Toko, professes her love, and Yu's like, wait, what the fuck? No, this is not how this is supposed to go.
No. Yeah, exactly. And again, that is the moment, right?
Mm.
But it doesn't work because it's stupid.
Yeah. And again, it is just
very
such
smartly goes, you don't even know me, what?
Yeah. And it is just such a gradual thing for you falling in love with Toko, and that is what is so wonderful about the series, and it is made clear. It's not a sort of interpretative thing. It is clear that throughout the entirety of both the anime and the manga, Yu is slowly but surely falling in love with Toko.
Yeah. I mean, that is essentially, we have talked about Toko's arc, so let's talk about Yu's arc, because that is essentially her arc. Going from, where's my moment? Where is it? I want that, but I can't get it, to, oh no, it's not a moment. It's just the sequence of events that led me here by the time of the final volume, obviously, or by the time she realizes she's in love with Toko.
Well, I would argue that she realized it. Well, it's very cleverly hidden in both the anime and the manga, but the moment that she does seem to realize it is when Toko is talking about the friend of her sister, describing Toko's sister, and saying that, I'm glad that you don't love me because I wouldn't be able to be with somebody who loves somebody that I hated. And then Toko leaves, and Yu yells or starts yelling at Toko, and it very cleverly disguises the fact that Yu does say love. In the manga, it's done with speech bubbles. In the anime, I believe it was a train going past, just cutting out the word.
Yeah, no, but I know the scene. Yeah, that's definitely what she says there.
No, I mean, just as again reading it today, I took a closer look, and the first letter is definitely an L. The rest is covered up, but you can tell it's an L, and therefore, by context, you're pretty sure what it is.
Would it be?
Yeah.
I look at you with eyes that like you, like a friend does, because this is clearly not a romantic.
No, not at all.
Even finish that with a straight face.
No. Can't be a romance, man. There's no dude.
Yeah,
no, I don't know.
This is what it is. Then I wish you wouldn't say you hate something I blocked out either.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's covered up by you shouting, idiot.
Well made. Very well made.
Mm.
Just the entire thing.
No, I mean, that's the thing. We all do just utterly love this series. I mean, and I think for good reason.
Absolutely good reason.
One of my other favorite Toko moments, going back to her, because Jesus, this is a podcast, structure doesn't matter, is when they prepare for the play, and they get the student in or the former student in who knew her sister, And I think they walk home together, and he just goes, "Well, you're not like your sister at all."
Yeah, just that so bluntness that he obviously,
and he doesn't even know. Like, how could he know?
He doesn't know at all. But Toko and us in the audience know. Oh, that's a like, big fuck moment.
Yeah,
that's a big old stick your foot in your mouth without realizing.
Essentially, that's the moment where she starts to even be open to questioning her current way of life.
Yeah.
Which was the whole
always kind of fucked.
Yeah, no, the whole thing with her trying to emulate her dead sister to the point of becoming her is just like surprisingly fucked up.
Yeah. Specifically because we don't really know what would have come after the play. Like, I don't think Toko would have like killed herself or anything, but what then?
I mean, almost certainly she would have kept, acting like what she thought her sister acted like, but it wouldn't have made her happy. And that's the point. She was she was never happy doing this. It was just something she thought she had to do.
Yeah, but also, and I mean, that's in a way she kind of got her cake and ate it. No pun intended. Because
I need to make that cheesecake.
Do it. Tell me how it tasted. No, but she basically says, well, the play is the last thing I have to do. So,
which could be taken a number of ways. Most of which are very concerning.
That's what I said. I don't think she would have killed herself. Like,
no.
That's maybe in there, but I don't think so. Just because of obviously death of a child, she knows what that means. I don't think that's really on the table. But even if that's not the case, so she would have done the play, and after that she would not have had goals. She would just kept this up somehow, and that's fucking terrifying. You don't want to peak with 17.
But it's like that one voice actor said, being forever 17 is where it's at.
Yeah.
But again, that's...
I forget which voice actor said that, but Japanese Seiyu basically, whenever she's asked about her age, she says that she's always 17.
Yeah, well...
But that is why the play is so clever, and it's really interesting that Koyomi figures this out so quickly.
Koyomi's really smart.
She does figure it out together with you, I want to say.
Well,
the ending is very specifically something they wrote together.
Yeah, she figures the ending out, but she figures out sort of, or it's implied that she figures out exactly what Toko is doing. And
I think doesn't Toko basically say she's scary?
Yeah, no, Toko does say when she reads the script, Jesus, she's scary. She figured this out.
Yeah.
And again,
she's a smart cookie.
It's debatable whether Koyomi did it on purpose or just decided it would be an interesting story based on what the general perception of Toko really was.
I mean, but that's the thing. It's debatable, but it doesn't really matter, right?
No.
I mean, you can debate about that, and it's probably a fun debate, but it doesn't really matter. It's just...
Well, that's what's good about it is it ultimately doesn't matter what the motivation she had for doing that was. The most important thing was that it happened, and the ultimate result for it was very good.
And that the thing is, that goes for many, many things that happen in this manga, or in the story. Like, lots of things just kind of happen, and it doesn't really matter why they happen. But not in the way that makes the story feel shallow or undeveloped. It's just, Koyomi writes the play that way. Why does she do it? I don't care. The senpai says, well, you're not like your sister at all. And it hits her in a way he could not have known it would hit her.
Yeah, there's quite literally no way he could have realized that.
Exactly, like there's no reason for him to believe that. Yeah.
If anything, he was trying to give her a compliment.
Yeah, exactly. If anything, he would have thought this is... I mean, because, that's just a connection he wouldn't make. Especially because he doesn't see her sister at all in there. And so many things just kind of fall into place, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So one thing I have been wondering about: did the teacher, like Riko and Miyako, did they ever figure out that you and Toko were dating explicitly? I mean, Miyako obviously knows about Sayaka because they kind of have their whole talking thing.
I don't know if it ever comes up in the story.
I don't think it does.
I think the two best gay couples in the story never learn about each other.
I want to believe because I'm fairly sure they keep going to Miyako's cafe.
They probably suspect. Yeah,
I'm sure they do figure it out after they've left school.
We keep running into Sensei here. That's kind of weird.
But certainly, during the
Sensei and Miyako are just very good friends.
During the certainly during the high school portion of the story, I'm almost certain none of the four figure it out.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, isn't it?
It is.
No, it is
delightfully ironic.
Because again, many stories like this, especially Yuri stories, have this good gay couple that's already in place as the like template for the other ones to get to. And here they just never learn about each other. They just completely live their separate lives and do their own thing.
Which I think is kind of neater in a way because there's
absolutely so much more interesting.
There's no bias at all coming from them learning about this other couple and being like, oh, we should imitate them. And it's like, no, they wind up developing on their own and
I mean, because honestly,
develop along a similar path.
But honestly, Miyako and Riko to you and Toko should not matter at all.
Yeah.
Because why should they matter? It's just not how it works.
I mean, if nothing else, they
two main purposes in the story to showcase an adult lesbian
lesbian relationship,
and to basically mentor and guide Sayaka in her own character arc.
Exactly.
I mean, if nothing else, it doesn't matter because the way they get together is entirely different. I'm Miyako and Riko's chapter of getting together is interesting, and it does. It really does play into Riko's whole thing of, well, it doesn't matter what I am, it just matters, who I love, and at the moment, you're the one I love.
I forget which volume that was the extras chapter to. Was it 5 or 6?
Might have been 6.
Yeah, that tracks with what I remember.
Let me see if I can figure it out. Might have even been 7, actually. It might have been 7.
Shit, it might have.
That would make sense because I think that's where Sayaka and Miyako have the talk where Miyako basically says, shit, looks like it didn't work out.
Yeah, because there's the
and
chapter...
that's the preamble to the chapter where they meet, I think.
Because that's the chapter where Sayako meets with Miyako and goes to the pancake cafe. And then once they come back, there is the interlude of Riko and Miyako getting together.
Yeah. But while we're at the final volumes, let's get into the ending, maybe. Because I think there's lots of interesting stuff at the ending. For example, Dojima being the new student council president.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
I think that's genuinely interesting because, again, he's such a nothing character when he's introduced. He's just the slacker guy that you can find in every single anime at some point.
I do think it is implied when he turns up that he is actually more reliable than at first glance, because the previous president picked him, and the previous president had a good record of picking people who could do his work.
People who are good at work because he didn't want to do it. Yeah, that's also just a hilarious side note. That's just.
Turns out slackers can make for surprisingly good delegators.
But the other,
not only that, even once slackers get up to doing something, it's usually done pretty well because the last thing you want to do when you're lazy is do it again.
Oh yes, 100%.
But the other thing
that's I'm lazy. Why do you ask?
Yeah, but it also makes sense because obviously neither Maki or you, the only two remaining members of the student council, would want to be in that spotlight.
No, neither of them cares about that kind of position.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I honestly believe after Nanami left the school, Yu was just kind of there. But she still does her work because she has a pretty good work ethic and shit, but just she doesn't really care about the student council anymore.
Oh no, you 100% was like, I want to leave the student council, but I can't. I don't really care about it anymore.
Oh shit, I'm here now. Damn it.
I forget. Does you become the VP or
I don't think it's said.
Secretary?
I don't think it's actually said.
Yeah, I don't think
it's literally a throwaway line that we even know Dojima becomes student council president.
Makes sense. It wasn't really important to the story, so I can see why they didn't really elaborate on it.
I mean, the other interesting thing is that it is implied that there is a romance blossoming between him and Akari.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun. I love the others teasing them about it too.
No, and also that's another thing you often see that like pair the spare characters, just get them paired up, get everyone in a nice couplet just so everyone can be happy. But that is set up earlier when he has that scene with Akari where he says, no, your emotions are valid and don't let anyone tell you they are not. So, like, they do have that connection where she was in a very vulnerable position and he did not give her shit for it or just ignored it or anything or said something callous. No, he very much told her, no, this matters. This is very important to you and it should be to anyone involved.
And it's set up a little bit later on as well because... I can't remember when it is, but Yu is looking for people to basically it's in volume 7 when Yu goes to the batting cages with Maki. She tried to go out with Koyomi, who instantly said that she was going home.
Tried to go out with anyone else, right?
Also with Akari, who said that she was going bowling with some of the basketball team. And it's only when you talked to Maki that we realised that Dojima is also going bowling with this group.
Yeah.
Bowling, huh? Is that what they're calling it now?
It's called today.
In fairness, you and Toko also go bowling, and that's the thing that sets off the.
Why do they?
So it's clearly a very sexually charged place, that bowling alley.
I mean, look at that bowling alley with all that glistening wood. And the pins and the balls. And the terrible music. I don't fucking know. No, I think the ending just, like, by doing things like that, going to even very slight earlier setup, the ending ties things together very neatly in a way that feels very organic.
Yeah.
Even with Toko basically not being there when they have the big everyone gets together again scene. Because she kind of never was into the whole group thing. She was good friends with Sayaka, she obviously cared about you, but she never really had scenes with Akari and Dojima and shit like that.
I also love how Koyomi is just so clearly annoyed with all the romantic drama and shenanigans that go on around her. Like, a bad series would have paired her up with Maki for some
just for some fucking reason. Yeah,
but no, Maki remains asexual and aromantic as he has always been, and
Koyomi just clearly has her own shit going on.
Well, there's another very good scene.
Gets her own shit and just annoyed with everyone else,
and also tired.
There's another very good scene with them where it's sort of pokes at the idea of pairing the two of them up when it's realized that, when they realize that they've both got the same favorite author, and Maki goes, "Oh, it's nice that you like this author too. Have fun meeting them. Off I go," and just leaves, and it's just
yeah, exactly. It's such a good drag on everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Koyomi even like berates herself after meeting that author, because she was like, "Well, what was I expecting from that interaction?"
Yeah, like what the fuck? They're just a person.
Yeah.
It's also kind of hilarious that it seems like she may or may not have a crush on the author before learning that the author is a woman.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's like, ah, damn.
Well, there's no indication as to what Koyomi's sexuality is.
Well, I don't think it's even necessarily a crush per se, but it's just it's a fan
she has this
situation.
very specific picture of who this person is supposed to be for her.
Yeah, she does have a very clear image of the person in her mind, and that's kind of shattered by the reality of
which does actually kind of mirror the relationship Toko and you have at that point in the story. And then she sees the person, and it's not like that at all, and she's just like, huh, damn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing in the ending is obviously that Sayaka is in apparently a very happy relationship.
Yeah.
Good for her, and I assume that's what the novels are about, or...
yes.
So, I believe that doesn't get touched on until the third novel, but I could be wrong. So I'm going to have to read them to find out. But I believe the first two are just about Sayaka's perspective before and during the series.
Yeah.
The third one takes place afterwards, I believe. I'm gonna have to read them soon.
Yeah,
I have too many books in my backlog.
Yeah, but light novels, you can read them in a day.
Some light novels are like 600 pages.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just staring at the villainous light novels right now.
Yeah. Damn, they're good. Anyway.
Anyways, back to Bloom.
Yeah. No, I just think the ending, especially that scene where everyone gets together and you don't get the typical, look, everyone's paired up nicely and everyone's getting their dream. I mean, not everyone's getting their dream. Koyomi still looks mostly tired. Even though, yes, she appears to get published soon in some capacity.
I mean, authors are perpetually tired, so...
But that's another thing. She does get published soon, but we also know, not just by seeing her tired, but just because we know how she works. Like, we know she works her fucking ass off. Like, it's not some magical, well, and now you get to be happy too. No, she puts in the work and gets probably very little out of it, but it's just her passion, so she does it.
I mean, what's really interesting about that final chapter is that, you've got the main cast, but then you've also got Natsuki, who obviously was and still is friends with Yu, Akari, and Koyomi.
Yes.
So again, it's showing that it's not just the characters that the story has followed for the entire series that matter. Everyone else still has their own lives and their own relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously Natsuki is an important person to, at least half of the people there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, why wouldn't she be there, right? So yeah, and then there's the actual ending, which I think I seem to remember when that came out. Some people were, I don't want to say upset, but some people kind of thought we should have seen more of you and Toko, quote unquote, being together. But I don't think that's a fair complaint, because that wasn't really the point of the story. And I don't say this lightly, because I do enjoy romance stories that don't stop at the now they're together part. But I do think, on the one hand, this wasn't purely a romance story, as we've said earlier. It's more about these people learning about themselves and what that means for them. And also, I do believe we kind of got a bit of that, because a few chapters earlier, when you had her dream, like, it was obviously a dream, like some weird shit happened, and sometimes things didn't really make sense. But essentially, it was very domestic. It was all just, yeah, we live together, we kind of just do a thing. And I don't have anything in my head that says that's not exactly how it is for them living together. Because by the time you had that dream, the two knew each other so well that she would have had a pretty accurate picture of what living with Nanami would be like.
No, I mean that's the thing. You and Toko get together basically after the first chapter of the last volume, and the rest of it is, you know, spending time with them being a couple.
I mean, depending on your definition of getting together, they kind of got together in the first volume.
I mean, yeah, they properly get together and agree to get together.
Yeah, exactly. But they did all the couple that is actually together things throughout the series.
That is the other thing. Yes, you know, they were sort of together for the entire run, and that's something that actually comes up just after that is you basically going, you know, we're dating now, but what does that mean?
Yeah, but what? You know, exactly.
We've been doing
an entire chapter.
You know, we already walk home together. We go on dates. We kiss, but we did that before. So what the hell changes now?
What does it even mean for us to date? Yeah. And so yeah, I do remember that criticism being there of the ending, but I don't think it's fair criticism because I think
it's not a valid criticism. I don't think because on the one hand, as has been said, they were together for the whole series, basically, and on the other hand, as has also been mentioned, the story is not about them getting together or being together. It's about their growth into people who are better suited for each other than they were at the beginning.
Almost like the title means something. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Yeah, it's almost like the title is related to the contents of the manga. Weird, right?
People shouldn't do that. It confuses me.
But yeah, what I would say is that the final pre-time skip chapter is basically the conclusion to the relationship storyline, because it really is just, you know, where should we go today? You know, we've got the rest of our lives to, you know, be together and figure out what we want to do, and then that, you know, time skip last chapter really is a case of, you know, figuring out, certainly you figuring out, you know, who she wants to be now, because she's trying to figure out a career, and as always, she is indecisive. But and again, it shows Toko's growth, because she goes, well, you can do anything you want. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Also, I really like Toko's getting super into acting.
It is great, and it seems oddly appropriate for her.
It's definitely appropriate for her, because essentially that's what she's been doing her entire life. But also, just I like that she just gets a thing that's her thing. Because you very specifically says, I don't care for acting. It's not. I don't like it. And that's just a nice touch.
Yeah.
But actually, another thing I want to say, piggybacking actually from the, I think, second to last chapter, it's where they are home alone, and you or Toko, one of them, essentially says, well, if I were a guy, I wouldn't be allowed here.
I think it is you, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's you saying that. And I think that's together with the whole Sayaka's ex showing up and saying terribly homophobic things. I think that's a very nice. The series strikes a very nice balance between not being about gay panic, because none of them, like, the way you question her sexuality has nothing to do with being gay.
It's more to do with how she understands romance and romantic affection, and her ability to experience it.
Yeah, And I like that because many especially Yuri, or I assume boys love as well, just don't really either make it the main issue, like, oh my god, I'm gay, or oh my god, we are all gay and everyone hates us, or whatever. Um, but at the same time, it doesn't gloss over it. It doesn't just go, yeah, well, everyone's gay and it's hunky dory and it doesn't mean anything. It's not.
No, it absolutely
The
does.
societal stigma is definitely there.
Yeah.
Like in an early chapter, it's like you ask her parents, what would you say if I were gay, and her dad says, I could not take that. And that is never really addressed. I think by the end, she still hasn't told her father.
No. Well, I mean, it's addressed.
She can share that with her family.
It's addressed a little bit by Yu's sister, who actually says it's the mother that would be more the issue. And you were right.
It's addressed, but it's not resolved.
No, it's not resolved, and some people are disappointed. But that is a realistic take on it. It takes time to be prepared to come out, especially in a society like Japan.
Yeah.
Japan is pretty conservative. It's not as bad as some other countries where homosexuality is outright a capital crime, but it's not super culturally accepted compared to how it is in, say, Europe.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think the show and series story, whatever, strikes a very nice balance between addressing that there is an issue, but not making the issue like the be-all, end-all of the story. I like that.
No, and it is nice to just, because while obviously it is an issue, it doesn't need to be sort of a big story-changing issue. It just needs to be something in the background. Like, I don't think this story would have been as good if we'd gotten several chapters of
absolutely
you angsting about her sexuality. As you said, it was less about her sexuality and more about how she felt about romantic relationships more than anything else.
Yeah. I think that ties back into what we said earlier with Sayaka telling her ex, no, you didn't make me gay, I just am gay. Like, these people are aware that there is a social stigma, and they obviously have to live around that and work around that, but at the same time, it's not that important to them and their relationship, because the important thing to them is them. It's just, yeah. So obviously you and Toko are aware, but at the same time, why would that do anything to their relationship as it is?
Mm-hmm. I mean that's the thing, the successful lesbian couple that we get to see in Riko and Miyako also aren't out.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, we get to see them, be a couple
quite
together.
Quite the opposite. Riko is very vehement about not being out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she says, dude, you can't say that when my students are here. Yeah, as I said, I think that's just a very, very nice balance you don't see often, because often it's either one thing or the other.
Yeah.
Even in things I really like in Villainous, which we talked about before. It's just kind of, she says, yeah, I'm gay, and everyone kind of just accepts it, and then it doesn't really matter anymore. And I mean, it's a fantasy world, and I don't want to get into that, but, it's just, that's one thing you often see, where it's just like, yes, everyone's gay, and nobody cares. It's just accepted by everyone. And that's, I think this show does, it's another thing this show does very well.
I mean, something that we haven't mentioned that I do want to mention is both the OP and the ED for the anime are utterly beautiful, and certainly the OP scared the shit out of us, I'm sure. Because oh boy, did that imply some things that were not great.
Yeah. Could have gone full banana fish after that.
But I mean just in terms of the visuals, that OP is utterly beautiful. It is
Amazing.
still one of my favorite OPs. Even after 3 or so years of watching seasonal anime.
Yeah.
And the ED is, I mean, it's a fun ED,
Great.
but it's also sung by Yu and Toko's seiyus.
Yeah, and I always love that. That's just
Oh, you can take off the spoiler warning now since we're just talking about anime stuff.
No, and I think the ending is a very good song. It's just and it works very well within the just within the logic the anime sets up. I mean, obviously the ending doesn't take place within the same world or anything, but it just fits very neatly into the construct of the relationship. So yeah, definitely two things worth talking about. Very, very good songs and very well directed visually. I like the red thread thing in the ending too.
No, and it's I mean, it's a necessarily cheery ending, I feel, because while the anime doesn't get into sort of the drama-filled endings that the manga does, there is still some moments where it is just nice to have a nice happy ending song with the two main characters. There's also a really good use of an insert song with during the sports festival, and use Big Gay Realization, which again that scene is just one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's also just done super well in the anime.
Yeah,
the framing you said, it's just damn.
Well, again, it's just timed so perfectly that the song reaches its crescendo just as you makes that realization.
Yeah.
And
I just realized I need to rewatch Bloom again at some point soon.
I mean, it's only 12 episodes. You can do it in like 4 hours.
13, I think, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's 13. Well, 4 hours and 20 minutes.
But yeah, and it's also interesting that the insert song is done by the same singer that does the OP. Riko Zuna, I believe, is her name.
I mean, they had a good team together. Why not? Why change it? Like, I really believe that, and that's something I also really believe. Like, if they make a season 2, they should see to getting the team together again, because like everything about this show worked so well in concert, and I do think it's very dangerous to mess with that.
Yeah. What else is there? Oh, this is most of the interludes did get adapted into the anime, but there were one or two that didn't, and one of them that was, at least I don't think this one was adapted into it, which was Toko walking with you and meeting two of you's underclassmen from, I believe, the softball team that you was part of in middle school.
Yeah, I don't remember that being in the anime. I
think it wasn't, yeah.
And it was, I mean, again, it was a very humorous one, because it was basically all three of them pointing out that you is short. But also Toko realizing that you responds well to being called cool. Is and making a note to keep doing that, which is, again, it's good because you is very much I wouldn't necessarily say self-sacrificing, but does things for other people rather than herself, and it's nice to see.
I mean, that's kind of where her indecision comes in. Like,
yeah,
she's not really able, or not able is bad word, but she's bad at making decisions. And when someone else is super passionate about something and says, you should do this is super cool, she just goes, yeah, sure, why not?
But it's good to see Togo making a note of that, to basically go, to let you know that she is good at things, and that she is, her decisions have value, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that is, again, something that I think comes across, spoiler warning, in the finale, of Toko going, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do something that... Well, it's very particular in that you mentioned that she doesn't want to take over
the store,
over her family's store, but she does want to work in publishing. And Toko goes,
which,
that's
by the
fine.
way, I think fits her super well.
Yeah,
because that's essentially what she's been doing the entire time, like just going through whatever's there and trying to make it better. It's just kind of, I think publishing fits you super well. I think that's one of the things. I sometimes feel like the whole softball thing was maybe supposed to play a bigger role, because she has these few scenes with her former teammate, and at one point the teammate says something to the effect of, well, you found something you were passionate about, I hoped it would be softball. And I always felt that maybe was supposed to be more important than it ended up being in the actual story, but that just happens when you write stories. Some things just kind of don't go anywhere.
Again, I think it is just a way of showing that for the longest time that Yu has been basically a passenger, and been letting other people make decisions for her, and now she is finally starting to make decisions for herself. Yes, is...
By the way, is also what Nanami has been doing, because her sister made her decisions for her.
It's slightly different in that Toko is...
I mean, of course,
is making her own decisions, but she's doing it based on what she thinks her sister would do. But yes,
both of them have lived their lives up to this point, essentially not doing anything to do any self-actualization.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's another interesting parallel I just kind of realized just now.
There's just a lot of interesting stuff in this series.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a testament to it. Honestly, most of us probably isn't there, and we just see it because it could be there.
Yeah. At least the series isn't like super deep into all of the content being subtext.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly would hurt it, probably.
Oh, 100%.
If it was like Evangelion or something, where everything was supposedly meant something.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't, by the way, but anyway.
I need to fucking watch Ava at some point.
It's alright. That was my hottest take on this episode.
But yeah, I mean, we've talked very broadly about this, but it is interesting how this is somewhat of a, maybe not deconstruction, but certainly not your typical Yuri anime, and it shows itself in the three main characters, in that, Toko was initially, the typical perfect senpai, but then the hidden depths showed her to be, a very
flawed indeed.
Very flawed individual, yeah. Or the sort of the typical Yuri protagonist is, very naive about the idea of being in a lesbian relationship, timid and optimistic. Yu is very, very practical, blunt and sarcastic, which is even sort of brought up by Sayaka. And, Sayaka herself, polite, kind,
Definitely.
patient person who's actually got quite a possessive streak regarding Toko and can be, pretty snide herself.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's playing with those sort of expectations, and subverting them to to good effect, I would say. I mean, Yu is one of my favorite protagonists in any sort of media, just because she is, she is blunt and she is blunt and she is practical and she's willing to,
The thing is, she's blunt and she can be pretty sarcastic, but she's not like snarky, if that makes sense. Like she's not the.
It's in no way in a mean way.
Yeah. She just kind of takes things as they are and pretty much just goes, okay, let's go with this then.
Yeah.
And does that, I think that fits to every character, even if some of them have obviously exaggerated personalities, just because it's a story and that's how you tell stories. Like it feels very natural, all of it, and that's in the end the real strength. It doesn't feel like it's super constructed.
Yeah.
Even though it probably is. Like I'm very certain there's a lot of work going into it. And not even just the production phase, but the actual construction of the story was probably a lot of work, but it feels very natural, and I mean that's the mark of quality. It just feels good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in summation, Bloom is just really fucking good, and if you haven't checked it out for some reason, you really should check it out.
Yes, I absolutely agree. It's definitely worth giving it the time. Even read it, watch it, whatever floats your boat. It's just masterfully crafted, very well made story.
And it's not just enjoyable series because the characters are good or the story is good. It's the mix of the two, and the fact that it does its best to fight against sort of damaging ideas, and that sort of thing. I mean, you would think that Toko, or people might think, I should reword that Toko wanting to be or being perfect because she wants to be a sister would be a good thing, because at the end of the day, does it really matter what the reason is, as long as she is being her best self? But again, it's
very clearly not herself.
It's very clearly not herself. Well, it's very clearly well, the point is that you says that it's fine if you want to be perfect, but it should be for you, not because not because you think that's what your sister was like. It should be for your own benefit, and that's the point. People, or the people around you, didn't know your sister. They know only you, and they don't think of your sister when they think, oh, Toko is perfect. They think of Toko. And it's something that Toko really needed to hear at that point, especially as it was just before the play. And again, the fact that it doesn't treat Sayaka as just this, as just Toko's love interest, and as the villain, she is very much her own character and has her own arc throughout the story. And while yes, she does come out loser in terms of the terms of the love triangle, by the end of the series, she's fine with that.
Yeah.
She is fully accepted.
It is important that she comes to terms with the fact that she wasn't the kind of person that Toko needed.
I think,
and also Toko probably wasn't the person she needed.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the important bit, that it's not she's not like nobly stepping away because Toko needs something else. She just realizes, okay, this is not it. And of course she's sad about it. Shit, it's sad when things end, even if they never really started. But as I said before, by the time she confesses, she knows this is not going anywhere, and she doesn't confess because she believes it will do something. She just needs to do it because she needs this this part of her life to end. But yeah,
and I do think that it is shown just how good Sayaka's arc is that she got her own spin-off.
Yeah, I mean, can't really do that with a bad character. I mean, you can. But...
no, you can. It's been done before, I'm sure, but
yeah, I mean,
but it feels natural because it feels like, while Sayaka is obviously a character in Yu and Toko's story, she has her own story that can be focused on.
Yeah. And what we hear about the light novels, that story isn't really the story of Sayaka and Toko, because that's just part of it, and that's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you make a spin-off if you make it good.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, I'm just trying to remember if there's anything we've missed.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
I can't either.
Let me think. Yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. I mean, again, I want to emphasize how genuinely beautiful both the manga art and the anime's art is. I mean, I got the picture for the background and was so glad it fit in because it does just look so good. And yeah, just please, Studio Troika, please give us a second season.
Please make season 2, man.
Please, we are begging.
It's not that hard. You just take that gay shit, put it in a syringe, and inject it right into my fucking veins.
Directly into our veins. We need that shit.
Yeah. I mean, please, it doesn't matter sort of how long the season is, even if it's only sort of 10, 11 episodes. Just give us the closure we need for the anime.
I mean, make a movie, I don't care. Just make something. Yeah, no, it's a shame there's no second season, but at this point, I do believe it's becoming increasingly unlikely.
Again, maybe Troika is just working up to it. Who knows?
I never know.
We just don't know what their schedule is. Maybe shit like Idolish and
if they announce it, I'm not gonna say, "Oh shit, I was wrong. I'm not gonna watch it."
Well, I'm pretty sure Troika only puts out like a couple anime per year compared to most other studios.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. They had
it only does 1 or 2 anime per year.
They had Lord Elmaloy in 2019. They had Idolish 7 second beat 2020. Idolish 7 third beat is in 2021, and then they've got the second core coming at some point. So, fingers crossed, it is scheduled and it is going to be worked on at some point.
Yeah, here's hoping.
I mean, looking at what the director for Bloom has worked on, I believe the last thing they worked on, without sort of checking dates for anything else, was Lord Elmaloy. So Maybe. Maybe if we get lucky, that's what they're working on at the moment, and they just haven't announced it. But
did apparently do an episode of Fire Force.
Oh, did they? Oh well.
Yeah, but it's like episode director, one episode on episode 18, so probably around the same time.
Yeah. But anyway,
as I said, if they announce it, I'll be more than happy. But
oh yeah,
as I understand the industry, the longer it takes, the less likely it is to happen.
Yeah. But anyway,
even with an unfinished anime, check out Bloom Into You. It's really good.
Yeah, I mean, even unfinished, I think that season of anime is still fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're not. I don't think you actually do miss too much by then switching over to the manga, because the manga is still really fucking good.
Yeah.
Yep.
As we said, the art of it is just, in some shots it is just, or in some panels it really is just superb. I mean, there's
I do think I must say, like, it is such a fantastic manga that is one of only a handful to actually make me cry. Like, it hits hard and it hits well.
Exactly.
But yeah, like an example of just how good the manga is with its art and its paneling is when Yu gives her confession, she has her hands over her eyes, and then on the next page, she slowly lifts them away to hear Toko say, "I'm sorry." At which point she flees because teenagers, and Toko, saying pretty much the worst thing she could have said at that point.
Yeah. It's just definitely kind of. I mean, we're repeating ourselves at this point. It's just very good.
Yeah. But yes, so I think that's all we have to say today. In terms of future streams, we might be doing. I don't think we'll get enough people for Among Us. We might do Monopoly if we can get enough people. Tuesday we will be doing more Mass Effect, most likely. Well, most likely on Tuesday, I should point out. Either Monday or Tuesday. Thursday, hopefully we can start Civ again.
Still had some serious technical issues.
Still not 100% sure what happened there, but we'll probably figure it out. And then next Saturday, our Pride Month lineup continues as we talk about the yaoi anime Given.
That's going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to that because Bloom is my favorite Yuri series. Given is my favorite yaoi series. And I don't hand that stuff out lightly.
Given is very good.
It is extremely good.
But that is the topic for next week, so we will see you all next time. Thank you for watching, and good night.
Later.
Goodbye.